mercy. I need to clarify this. A lot of people say grace and mercy are the same thing. They're not. Grace, a definition that I like, is divine enablement. Divine enablement. God is empowering you to do everything that you were created to do. It's God's power working in us and through us to transform us and to transform the world. Does that make sense? That's what grace is. So when you go back, read grace with the interpretation of divine empowerment, and so many scriptures will start to come alive to you. They'll become active rather than just content. It's beautiful. So, how do we do this? The means of grace. The means of grace, a good way to think about these are the sacraments. We've got communion. And I'm not just talking about eating and drinking the styrofoamy kind of wafer in the shot glass of grape juice that we have, right? It's truly remembering his broken body for you and his blood that's spilled for you. It's remembering everything that he's ever done for you and given you and provided you, because he's provided you with everything you need to live a life of godliness. That's communion. It's remembrance. It's being sensitive to that. It's appreciating that. It's not just eating and drinking something that's really disappointing as a snack. Another one of the sacraments is baptism. Now, in and of itself, dunking your head under water won't do anything, okay, right? But if you need to be baptized, walk in obedience to what God's asked us to do. Make that outward expression of an internal decision. It's a shift. It's a monumental moment of transition. It's an opening and a willingness of your involvement. Remember, we talked about being fellows with God, like having fellowship with one another, being invested. That's a step of investment in your life into that process. Another one is marriage. Now, this is a bit harder for some than others for obvious reasons. Namely, you're not married, right? But a big part of marriage is intimate connection and time spent. You must get to know your beloved. Spend time with him or her, learning about him or her. The same is true about the beloved, your bridegroom, Christ, and his Holy Spirit. Look, if the girls have to be sons of God, we can be brides of Christ, okay, men? Like, that's fair. Marriage is a big thing. Now, think about this. Another part of marriage is forgiveness. In marriage, you learn forgiveness or you don't stay married, right? You don't have a marriage or you don't have a good one, right? You learn really quickly to forgive, and you can learn to see the gold in the other person. I think Jennifer is the most beautiful woman in the world, ever. Not just because she's physically stunning, but because I can see the gold in her. And no other woman can look that good to me because I don't know what gold they have, and I don't care what gold they have compared to my wife. Does that make sense? So that's how Christ sees you, and you need to see him. That intimate time spent. Another one of these is acts of mercy. This is kind of a general term, but here are some practical steps for acts of mercy. 1, pray for those who have wronged you. And pray for the courage to forgive them. It's really hard to be mad at someone you're constantly praying blessing over. And that's good. And you might be like, I don't want to. That's why you have to ask for the courage to forgive them, right? Providing for the needs of others, like feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, visiting the imprisoned, looking out for widows and orphans. Yeah, James said that was true religion. And there's other spiritual disciplines. If you're not familiar with the spiritual disciplines, go look up more. There's breath prayers. There's times of meditation and silence. There's all these different types of disciplines that you can practice. Not because the disciplines are what gets you there, but the disciplines help you get in a mindset of seeking God who takes you there. Do you see the difference? The disciplines are good only in that they help buffet your body, right? Paul said, I beat my body into submission. Here's the last one, prayer. And I mean real prayer. I mean deep prayer. Living according to the Spirit is recognizing that I need God working in me and working through me. In other words, I can't do it on my own. And if you could, it's self-righteousness. Again, I'm talking about real prayer, getting deep and like digging in. Real prayer is when you hit a wall and you can't go any further. When the good choice seems so hard and the bad choice seems so easy. when you want to react in anger rather than respond in love. When you recognize that you have to humble yourself and say, God, I can't do this. I can't do it. I know that you can, though. So please, please help me. Would you give me the strength to do this? That's the prayer we're talking about.
So everything, I just want to piggyback off of what Joshua just said and what he's been saying. And it's one of the verses that he had read to us. It says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean. That word clean is pruned, you guys, because of the word I have spoken to you. It says, remain in me and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. All of what he's talking about is about being with God, right? Whether we're praying, whether we're remembering, whether we're considering God. I just want us to also focus on if his word is what prunes us, is what cleans us. And so that's what helps us to be healthy and bear that fruit too. And that's just another way of connecting with him, right? So the answer is Jesus, but this is just another way of connecting.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you for bringing us back to the word.
Yeah.
God doesn't pick you up and carry you through the problems. Anybody heard the footprints prayer? Or the poem, I mean? I think it's somewhere in the Bible, like Second Miscellaneous, right? It's got to be somewhere in there. It's like after God helps those who help themselves, somewhere in there. I'm sorry. It's a beautiful poem. I do love it. It's not true. It's just not. It was there that I carried you. Sorry. That's not what it is. That's where God empowers you and gives you the strength that you need so that you can walk it out yourself. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Not I can get around or out of all the things because Christ strengthens me. Do you see the difference? He called us to live life, not just watch it and avoid it. You have the choice of whether or not you're going to do it with him. Without him, you can't. And without you, he won't. Now, he won't just zap you out of bed and get you moving. It was the Israelites that had to step into the Jordan before the water receded. And that's when the divine power happened. It's when you get up and start moving because you put your faith in him, you put your trust in him, and you rely on him to give you the power to walk these things out. That's when you see the divine empowerment. That's when you see grace. Does that make sense? It's not just laying there and hoping God will levitate you out of bed and put you on the treadmill. It's in the little things, guys. It's the little things that make up life. That's where the power is. It's in the little daily battles that we take to him. So that because he's already been victorious. He's already won. At least it helps me to make more sense of praying without ceasing. You ever think, oh, Lord, would you bless my day, and my grandma, and my grandpa, and my dog, and you run out of things to pray for. But if you're praying in the little things of life, you're going to be praying all the time. It's almost like every step that you take, you're relying on the Holy Spirit. It's almost like you're walking in the power of the Spirit in every part of your life, in every decision you make.